What is up and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are coming to you live in the afternoon, not this morning. We've got a special episode with CEO and founder of Princeton Mortgage, Rich Weidel. I'm excited to have him join us because, guys, if you don't know Rich, you're going to get to know him on this episode. He is so full of energy. He's so full of passion for what we do. We're going to have some interesting conversations about commodities, about how you can differentiate yourselves as a mortgage professional. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to want to miss this. It's time to shred. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Rich Weidel. What's up, Rich? How are you, brother?
Hey, Josh, things are really well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, man, I'm excited to have you. The last time we saw each other, I'm pretty sure it was at MBA, end of 2019-ish. Probably was probably when it was. And it's funny because I continue to hear your name. I continue to see Princeton. And what I love about you, Rich, honestly, and I can say this like no BS, is you're so humble about your guys' success. I mean, truly, like I'm going to give you guys a little bit of kudos here because Princeton and you and the entire team have just done unprecedented things. You guys have continued to grow. But why I love it is you guys are leading the way. You're leading from the front. You're being those examples. And what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about some of the things that you guys have done. We're going to talk about some of the successes, some of the things that you've learned from. So let's dive into it, brother. Cool. So starting in 2018, I mean, you guys jump on the scene 2018, you're getting a few loans done. Did you think in 2018 that you would be where you are today? I mean, 2021, I mean, you guys last year had, over $1 billion originated. Did you guys think in 2018 you'd be at this place?
So we, in January of 2018, when I joined, we had one loan officer. We kind of put together in January. I think we funded 11 loans. We originated 2.2 million in January of 18, and then we funded 1.1 billion last year. And the answer is yes. And we didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know anybody in the industry. I'm from a non-residential mortgage background.
Yeah.
But I wanted to build a great company with great people and have really ambitious goals, because the thing that I love is working with great people towards something challenging, because I think that that's really where we discover ourselves.
Sure.
So kind of early in 2018, we looked and we pulled the reports from Scotsman Guides, and we went back and pulled every report like 10 years back, and we said, what is possible in the mortgage industry? What can companies achieve in a 10-year period? And we saw at that point, the numbers are bigger now, because this was back in 18, that you could kind of go from like 0 to 50,000 loans a year in a 10-year period. And so we said, cool. Our goal is to get to 50,000 loans a year by 2028. And now I think it's grown from there. And we felt like frauds. I mean, the first time we said it, we're going to get to 50,000 loans by 2028. Maybe, if things go well, we'll see what happens. Who cares?
Right.
But you say it enough and it starts to manifest itself. And now it's taken on a life of its own, right? And no longer is it this thing where it's like, wow, we could, maybe we'll achieve that. Like, that's kind of scary. It's like, oh, we're doing this. And now people think we're going to outperform that goal. It's attracting people. It's really working. So the answer is yes. We had no idea how we'd get there. We had some major objectives where we thought, it's commodity business. So what I love about
big time
is that it's complex. You run a sales organization, a marketing organization, a manufacturing organization, a capital markets organization, a risk organization. And so there's areas to outperform in each of those. And we said,
of course,
commodity industry, how do you outperform? Well, you have to outperform by providing more value to your customers. And so we studied, what do customers want? We said, really, our strategy is we're going to design, build, and deliver what our customers want. We spent a bunch of time figuring that out. And that's become our flywheel. The first turn in 2018 was really slow. We funded 100 million, it was like, then in 2019, it starts going a little bit better. We funded like 350 million. And our goal for 2020 was 900 million. And we did 1.1 billion. So we did outperform.
Wow.
Thanks to coronavirus, in large part of that. But now that the flywheel's going, it's going. And things are getting easier. And that's what the move was. You have to go through chaos. You have to learn to walk. You have to make lots of mistakes. We failed constantly at it. And I think, you look back at it and you're like, wow, like that's the famed 10x growth, right? We did the 10x growth. It doesn't feel like that along the way. It feels like watching grass grow.
Hmm.
Every day is a grind and it's horrible and you feel like you're making mistakes and this is going wrong. And I think that your total output is just the sum. It's the totality of the constraints of your machine. And your constraints are always shifting and the bottlenecks are moving. And at any given time, you've got constraints all over the place, but you fix one constraint and you try to fix it so that that constraint doesn't rear its head again, right?
Hmm.
And then you move on to the next one. And then you look back after 3 years and you're like, wow, that little patch of dirt, has grown into a jungle or whatever the right analogy would be there. And so you look back over 3 years and it's really worked.
That's
And now
amazing.
it's 8 ahead of us, 7 ahead of us.
So I have two things I want to ask. Number one, as you were really understanding what the consumers, what they cared about, was there anything in particular that you found was really important to the consumer in particular?
Yeah. So I studied. I mean, I read everything we could find, all the Fannie Mae stuff, the Harvard Joint Studies, Joint Housing Studies, Freddie, the McKinsey reports, and I didn't find anything really great. I mean, you try to figure it out, and it's like, I'm not buying this. My experience wasn't jiving with it. One of the things was I found some great reports that like 2012, 13 that predicted the end of the loan officer, whether it's retail or broker. The loan officer is done. Everything's going to be online, self-service. Well, I spent some time in residential real estate where we was predicting the same thing, and I didn't see it budge at all. And while we're going through that, you see the rise of the broker, and you're like, wow, that's the opposite of a call center LO or self-service. And so you've got the experts predicting one thing, but I'm seeing this other thing in reality. And so kept studying it, and I started to look at other businesses. And you try to isolate. Let's talk about Amazon. I mean, they just made 100. We were thinking about. I was so impressed with Quicken, right? They made 3.2 billion or something in Q2, and it's like, whoa. $3.2 billion. Amazon made 125 billion. So just the perspective is like running a mortgage company and get my head around, all right, how big is Quicken? I can think about that because of how big we are, how much money they make. Anything about 125 billion means Quicken is nothing. You know what I mean?
Like, I did.
Hey. So, but what does Amazon do? Is they've made it effortless to get what you want.
Yeah.
And so there's some really smart guys, Matt Dixon over at the CEB, that actually wrote a book called The Effortless Experience. And I really got into that. And I studied Zappos and I studied Amazon. And we did some of our own customer experience surveys. And really what it is that if your goal is to decrease effort by the customer. And so we built this idea of the effortless mortgage, and we were gonna be the effortless mortgage. And that kind of became our branding. Okay, now what? Well, then we said we got to give this some teeth, because I'm huge on feedback loops. Pain plus reflection plus determination equals success. So we just ran our company all hands meeting this morning. Immediately following the all hands, a survey goes out to the whole company. Everybody rates the meeting. Did they find it valuable? Gives their comments, and then that goes back out to the whole company. Like this, we've been doing it for years. The second or third time we did it, we used an NPS score. I got a -23. So in front of the whole company, I thought I did a great job. And I got a -23.
Yikes.
But that pain, right, is the evolutionary process to getting better. So
absolutely,
we did it with our customers. We said, all right, we promise an effortless mortgage. And if you're unhappy for any reason, we'll give you $1,000. And when we launched it, it was pretty radical. I actually had, we were very small then. But we had a woman quit on the spot when I launched at the all hands meeting. And this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Like, I'm out of here. These guys are crazy. Like, we're crazy, but let's try it. Let's learn.
Just watch.
Yeah. And we said, if fewer than 10% of our customers claimed it, we called it a success. And it was so painful. Those first 6 months, I mean, it was one after the next, of the customer saying, meh, meh. And we deserved it. But every time we got a Prince, we called them a Prince and Promise request. We'd give them $1,000, and it's on all of our emails. It's on our website. It's everywhere. We stole it from the SEALs, called an after action review.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd grab everybody involved in the file. We'd write down what happened. We'd focus on what did we learn, and then we'd say, okay, how do we fix this at a systemic level, at the machine level, at the root cause level, so we can prevent this in the future? And so what you start to find is that it's so easy to blame the people doing the work, the processor, the loan officer, the underwriter. It's really never their fault. It's leadership's fault to have not defined the right processes, the right management, the right culture for people to operate in. So we started to attack it at that level. And now, we're funding we're at less than 1% of our customers are claiming it. And
Wow.
we track all of our customers through a net promoter score.
Yeah.
You know, the average in the industry, I think, if you include the big banks, it's a negative like 10.
Yeah.
If you
Some.
include IMBs, it's like 35 to 40. Starbucks and Nike have like a 50 or 60. We have a lifetime NPS of 94. And last month, with a 55% response rate, we had a 98 net promoter score.
Oh my gosh, dude. That's insane.
Yeah. Yep.
That
And so that's driving everything, right? So I tell a story constantly. I ask people, what's the job of the goalie? You're familiar with soccer, right?
yeah, of course.
So what's the job of the goalie?
Stop the ball.
Stop the ball. Same thing I said. But at Princeton, we say no. Because what happens if you stop the ball, but you lose the game? And that's what happens. So you get everybody maximizing for their department, processing, underwriting, closing, sales, whatever it is. And I did a great job. But then you lose. And you lose because the customer is not happy. And so we've defined, yes, we all have our own specific jobs within it, but all of us are united around the same goal, which is providing an effortless experience for a customer and making sure that they are happy. And that thinking is really important because it unites everybody to be able to then sort of push decision-making down throughout the organization because people know what their job is, to win the game, make that customer happy.
Oh man, that's brilliant. I was gonna say, clearly it's worked really well. And what's crazy is if you think about it in that mindset, because again, coming from somebody who's owned a mortgage company myself, we did something similar. If you didn't have a good experience, you know, we'd give you a refund. But what happened in that process for us, and I've seen in other organizations, is you did the process perfect. You came back and said, okay, what was the problem? How can we learn from it? How can we fix it? Is a lot of times we'd go back and be like, Rich, you were the one to blame. Like you messed up in that process. You need to fix it. You get better. And it wasn't a learning. It was just like, that one was on you. Like that was totally on you. And you know, we get better. But it wasn't going back and looking at it and saying, okay, let's learn from these mistakes. And this is where I want to ask you this in a second, because you've brought this up twice now. Now I'm really intrigued. We learn from our mistakes. We grow from our mistakes. 2020, you know, was a banner year for all of us. In the last 3 years, since you started Princeton Mortgage, is there a mistake that you learned from that you're just like, that was the one that was like, yes? Or have you had a mistake recently where you're just like, man, that was such an eye-opening experience for me?
I mean, yes, constantly. I mean, if anything, like, if to the extent that we're outperforming, which we are, the market, I mean, pretty dramatically, it's just because we're failing more than other people. But coming back,
I love that.
You know, like it's just this. We're failing as much in 3 months as most companies are in 3 years, I think, to some extent. And so what I would say is you hit it. So actually, there's a guy, Edward Deming, who created Total Quality Management. He went over to Japan after World War II, and he created Total Quality Management, worked with Toyota and all that stuff. And he's kind of the father of Six Sigma and Kaizen and all that stuff. And he's got this. It changed my thinking, which was your system is perfectly designed to deliver the outcomes you are getting. System is perfectly designed to deliver the outcomes that you're getting. So, for example, let's use the Princeton Promise, right? And blaming our team, let's say, because that's what you do. I go do that, or darn, Sally just doesn't care, whatever it is. And we all go there, and I went there. But then you start to say, actually, if we've got 8% of our customers claiming it, and that's consistent, let's just say, that's actually our system. Our system is designed to deliver 8%. We have a very stable system that's delivering an 8% defect ratio in that situation. So we said, okay, so let's not blame people. Let's look at what can we do to change our system to decrease that variance or decrease that defect ratio. And so we look at our company as a machine, and it's a combination of people, process, and technology. And we say, how do we do that? And so when we stop blaming individuals, or, you know, the famous one, like, if they would just stop making mistakes.
Yeah.
We're gonna make mistakes.
Always.
Right? And so how do you build that into your system to account for underwriters are gonna make mistakes? They're gonna miss stuff. Processors are gonna forget to do something. A loan officer is not, you know, the disclosures, they're gonna forget to push it into disclosures, whatever it is. And so how do you design for that? And so what we started to do is really track mistakes or problems or whatever. And actually what you find is that you have a very stable system. And it's working. You're just not getting the outcomes that you want. Instead of blaming people and saying they should do better, we start to say, how can management or leadership foster an environment where motivated people can thrive by going about affecting change to the system? And so I'd say the mistake we always make is we blame a person where really it's the system that's the problem. And then approach it with curiosity instead of anger, right? So my move is to go to anger first. That's okay. Hold on. What can we learn? This is probably my fault. I probably, as the leader or the leaders I put in charge, have probably abdicated somewhere. We don't have an opinion on this. We've ignored it. We haven't written a policy on it. So let's not blame the people that are doing the work. Let's look at how we've contributed to this problem and then go about fixing it.
Dude, all you leaders, everybody listening to this right now, what Rich just gave you, this has saved you so much headache and so much pain. Like this little process. And again, human nature, Rich, is to go to anger when somebody makes a mistake. Even like my kids, like when they do something, especially that they know they're not supposed to be doing, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Let's look at this. Let's take a step back. How can we learn from this? How can we all become better from this? And that's why you and your entire team at Princeton continue to dominate. That's why in 3 years, you've accomplished what companies try to do in 10 or even 15 years, is because, again, you're learning from the mistakes. Plus, you're willing to make them. I think something that plagues our industry, and I can say the word plagues because I've seen it firsthand, is that companies are so scared to try something new. They see everybody else and they're like, oh, well, this is kind of it's cookie cutter. Just keep doing the same thing. But you're willing to try something new to make those mistakes. And like you said, you're making more mistakes than everybody else, but that's what's allowing you to learn, become better, to improve the process, to learn and to grow. That's what, I mean, Rich, that type of thinking, I'm excited to see what Princeton does in the next 2 years. I mean, 2020 was a banner year. 2021, people are predicting to be an even better year, if we can believe that. But it's because you guys are willing to act, willing to make those mistakes, learn from them, and grow. But that's what a true leader is all about. And I see that within you, and I see that within your organization. I want to come back to something that you said, and I want to kind of unravel this. You kind of talked about it, but we right now, more than ever, are in a commoditized industry. 100%. If you think about it, and you kind of hinted at this, but there, within the mortgage industry in particular, there was organizations saying, well, we got the best rates. That's what makes us amazing. That's why we are closing more than everybody else. And this is why we're better. But we are now in a very, very commoditized state within mortgage industry. So how are you guys in particular at Princeton? How are you separating yourselves? Again, going back to, yes, you care about your consumers, but what differentiates yourselves, and how can we differentiate ourselves going forward in 2021?
So I'm going to answer in a little bit of a roundabout way. So
Love it.
People look at anybody's website, recruiting materials, whatever. It's technology.
Sure.
I think technology is a differentiator, is the biggest load of BS out there. Quicken develops Rocket. 18 months later, we all have Blend or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, right?
How quickly commoditizes it. And when somebody creates a good technology, and God bless Quicken spending the money and the energy to go do that, it takes 10 people sitting in a garage to go build the same thing, raise money, and rock and roll with it. So I don't think technology is a differentiator. And what's super interesting now that Quicken and UWM, these companies are public, I did some really rough math. Now they can get their financials. So if technology was a differentiator, you'd expect the companies that have the biggest technology spend, let's use Quicken as an example.
Sure.
Technology should drive an increase in production and a decrease in cost, right? Every technology vendor calls me and they say that we're going to, increase productivity and decrease costs. So Quicken's costs per funded loan are within 10 basis points of what the MBA puts out for all IMBs. It's identical.
Really?
Quicken's labor costs per funded loan are identical to what the MBA puts out. So what that tells me is, so Quicken has not achieved real economies in scale either in their cost per funded loan or in their labor cost per funded loan. So then how did they become Quicken, right? And then you look at it and say, well, if technology should increase productivity and decrease costs, how come over the last 10 or 15 years, the cost per funded loan has gone up? Something doesn't make sense here. And I don't hear anybody talking about this. And I don't necessarily have the answer, but I know that there's something there that doesn't make sense. You say, so technology is not the differentiator. What is the differentiator? And the answer is execution. Ooh. Right? We run complex businesses, and the answer is executing better. And that's boring. It's boring hard work, And so what we do at Prince is we believe in the law of congruent experiences. And so we've got kind of 4 objectives. And our first objective, and this is the heart of your question of how do you
Sure. Yeah.
is culture. And what I mean by that is we say we
Mhm.
want to foster an environment where motivated people can thrive. We want to have fewer, better people. So I was talking to a company that did like 2.2 billion with in production last year in funded volume, and they had something like 430 employees. We did 1.1 billion with 65 employees.
Whoa.
And so you want to have fewer, better people. You want to have a culture that attracts, retains, and develops them. We are gunning for higher than average labor costs. We want to pay our people more, but we want them to be, because of our machine, to be more productive. So we also want to drive a lower cost per funded loan. So we want to have this panacea, which is higher labor costs, but lower cost per funded loan.
Sure.
And we say if you treat your employees well, I mean really well, and I don't mean bean bags and coffee and stuff like that. I mean challenge, opportunities for growth, coaching, increased responsibility, getting to work with other great people. And that's probably the biggest thing. Then they're going to take care of the customer. I'm not a customer focused guy. I don't
Sure.
spend a lot of time with customers. It's not. I know some people are like really driven by home ownership and customer status, and that's not my thing. It's just not. I wish it were, but it's not. And so I had a structure for that. And so we did the Prince and Promise and the Effortless Mortgage and said, we're gonna go attract people that do care about the customer, that do care about doing a good job, and it's worked. And so you differentiate by having better people working in a better culture, making better decisions over the long run. And so that's really simple, but really hard to do. And if it boils down to it, what is a mortgage company? It's a group of people.
Yeah.
It's just a group of people. That's it. We don't have any assets. We don't have any inventory. We don't have any machines that build stuff. And so the answer is, if you're going to win, you got to have better people. So how do you attract better people? How do you keep better people? And that's the difference.
Dude, what you just said, like that should be like quote. Make sure we clip that. Dow, we got to clip that for sure, because that was one of those things. Rich, I think sometimes we miss sight of that. We are people. Like that's what our industry is all about. We're not constructing, we're not building anything. We're not we just don't. We don't have products that we sell. We sell it's us. And we talk about relationships all the time. Yeah. It's funny because I see companies and I see the cultures and I'm all about being competitive. Like I'm sure you are as well. You're a competitive guy. We both are by human nature. We absolutely are. Really? That's crazy. That's interesting. I'm a competitive guy. I would say most people, a lot of people are in our industry, but that just shows how you are building your culture of like, we don't need to be competitive. We're about our people. It's about the people we care about here.
That's right. That's just my thing for whatever reason is, so I believe in freedom and responsibility, and that
that's powerful.
That is accountability. And so, so how do you build a machine? So it's like, I would love to look back on our time here and be like, you know what, there's 2 people, 500 people, 10,000 people that have worked at Princeton, whatever it is, to say, I'm better off because of the time I spent at Princeton. And so like that to me is worthwhile. And so that's where we look at it all day and say, and we try to run it like a professional sports team,
Sure.
and really look at how do you build a deliberately developmental organization that is helping people to achieve what they want, whatever that is.
Yeah. It's really funny.
It's really harsh because it's transparent and there's feedback loops, and we fire people and we demote people and we promote people. I mean, it's a meritocracy, right? So how do you build a meritocracy, and how do you do that authentically? So what's amazing is that we're probably a much harsher place. We don't talk about family, we don't pretend we're family. We say no. The basis of our relationship is performance. Right now, we can love each other through that and care about each other, have really meaningful relationships. But like, what happens to LeBron if he stops scoring points? It's benched.
He's done. Yeah.
Done, right? So we're really clear with people that here's the terms of our relationships, and then within that, we care a lot about people. But you want to make sure that people know what they're getting into up front. So like, we're really transparent about that. And so what you can accomplish within that, if you go look at our Glassdoor reviews, for example, like they're stellar. They're really good because we're authentic with people about who we are and how we're going to treat people. And we're very principled within that, and very transparent within that as well.
I just love that because they know what to expect, and it's two-sided. It's not a one-sided relationship. They know what they're getting themselves into. They know the expectations that are set of them, and if you do your job well, which again is an expectation, you're going to be rewarded in that. Like that. That is it. And caring about those people at your core, just knowing you as as you and I've got to know each other over the years, knowing the type of person that you are and seeing the organization as it's flourished, and again, has an unprecedented growth, clearly culture is so important. Culture is everything for you guys.
So I'll tell you a fun story. So people didn't know what they were getting into, right? We were hiring people and they'd be like, whoa, I didn't know what this place was. And we're having a problem with it. And people would join and then they quit. I'm like, all right, this isn't working.
Something's wrong.
And because our managers didn't know how to recruit to it, or maybe we had a newer manager or something like that. So we rolled out a thing called the offer. And so on day 90, every single person that joins Princeton Mortgage gets an email from me that says, if you quit by the end of the day, I'll give you $5,000. And so what that did is it changed the game. Because now it put the pressure on the manager to make sure that they were recruiting to the culture, make sure they were onboarding the person properly, and they were hiring somebody that wanted to be in our culture. Because $5,000 is a big check.
That's not bad.
And we've had some people take it, very few, but that changed everything. And it's almost like then we share the response with the whole company. When somebody says, no, I reject it or I accept it, say, hey, can we share this? We share it around. It's like, welcome to the team officially. Wow. You want to be here more than you wanted $5,000. And you got to think, we did this all last year when it was we were the craziest recruiting year ever in the mortgage industry. And we were paying people to quit if this wasn't the right place for them, or we hadn't upheld our end of the bargain for the first 90 days. And so that really solved it. So another wild thing we do. We just completed our performance reviews, and we do both a manager review and we also do a big peer review, a 360. So everybody gets reviewed by all their teams. We compile it all into a huge report and it gets shared with the entire company. Everybody sees everybody's performance reviews.
Really?
Yeah, it's beautiful. People love it because we're all in this together. It's a social contract, right? And the goal is to learn. And then what you wind up having is kind of a self-policing culture where people work themselves out, right? It's if they're not a top performer, or if they don't, or like, since we're on such a high growth trajectory, you could be a top performer that's just on a slower growth trajectory, right? Maybe you're at a different stage of life for what's going on, and that's okay. We want to see people succeed and achieve their goals. Hopefully that's at Princeton, but if it's not, we want to help them succeed somewhere else within that. And so we keep increasing transparency, we keep increasing feedback loops, and it just keeps getting better.
Communication, man. That's what it comes like, having that open communication, having that type of culture and relationship where people aren't scared. Like, just, I love it. Self-policing is something that we need more, because in this industry, what's so easy is to bounce from company to company to company to company. And we saw that. I mean, we
don't hire those people anymore. I mean, we don't bother. If I look at their LinkedIn and it's a year and 6 months here.
Yep.
You're like,
good luck. See ya. Not for us, for sure. But that was just it. That was, but we were breeding that culture within our industry. Like, we were just like, hey, sign on bonuses and come here. We'll pay you more basis points. And then we weren't worried about the culture. That's why I'm so excited for you and for your team and everything you're doing at Princeton, is you're changing that mindset. You're saying, hey, you know what? We want you here for the right reasons. Again, $5,000 is a lot of money, especially after 90 days. Like, $5,000 is not just like, that's a pretty tempting offer just to walk away. Like, hey, I'm going to score $5,000 and then I can go somewhere else. The fact that that people don't take that just shows leaps and bounds. It talks so well about who you guys are at your core. And I think we need more of this. I'm so glad we're having this discussion, because we need more companies to adopt a mindset like this. The problem is, like, you and I are having, but I can tell you this. Actually, I can almost guarantee you this. I can guarantee everybody listening to this, Rich, is they're going to hear this. And because it's almost, I'm going to say crazy. Like, me and you are, we're the type, we're crazy. People think we're crazy. We do things that people just think are outside the box. People aren't going to do it. Like, they're going to hear it and they're going to be like, yes, like, there's no way.
People won't do it. And so I'm happy to talk about it, because it's really simple, but it's really hard to do. And you have to get through tons of fear. And I also don't know if you could do it so we had the chance to get this stuff right from the start, and so I founded the company, or refounded it really, around these things. And so we built it from the ground up that way. I don't know, if we were where we are today, and we're just kind of a normal company, we want to do these things, I don't know if you could transform it once you've hit critical mass. It'd be very hard to do.
like you said, it seems so simple. It seems like such a simple thing, but at the core of everything, this we were talking about this before you and I even got on the show. Is people ask me how are you still in this? There are so many people. There's influencers. There are people that they've come and gone. How have you stayed in it? I've stayed consistent. I've done the simple things, the little things. They're really not that hard, but I've just continued to do them time and time again. Same thing with you. Same thing with Princeton. Is you've just continued to do them. You have been relentless in not giving up and not distracting, being dissuaded from what you're actually doing. And I agree with you. Nobody's going to do it. And people are going to hear this. And that's why I love you too, Rich, because you're willing to share. There's no secrets. There's no like closed book, no closed doors. Hey, I'm willing to share. And I'm willing to almost bet you've bet on your people already. Like you're saying, hey, I believe in you guys. We build a culture. We build a place where you want to be. Rich, these are the conversations. These are the ones I love, man. I love what I do is because we get to have these great conversations.
True, yeah.
So I want to start wrapping up. We're coming up on 30 minutes here. Holy crap, time flies when you're having fun, right? So I want to start wrapping up. So again, 2021, we're excited for it. What are some things that you're looking forward to? What are some of the things you're looking forward to for Princeton in this year as we start to wrap things up?
I'm excited to have more runway. I mean, January was our second best originations month ever for the company. And so, January is typically your worst originations month. So that's giving us real confidence we're doubling down on our investments in the company to build the infrastructure out to keep scaling. And so I think we're going to be able to accomplish what from an infrastructure standpoint, forget about, I think the volume's taking care of itself. I'm not worried about that. But how do we build out the machine to carry us through the next 5 years? And so we're doing a lot of infrastructure building right now. So I'm really excited about that. And to some extent, we got to where we are through some sheer force. And now we've got a scale where we can bring on some really great people to work on the business. We've all kind of been in the business for the last 3 years. And that's exciting for us.
Oh man, that is exciting. And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have Rich back on the show here in 6 months because I'm excited just to see your guys' growth and what you've accomplished in the next 6 months, what you've done in 3 years. Again, I can say this being from somebody who's owned a mortgage company, what you've done in 3 years is absolutely phenomenal. It's astounding to me. It's humbling to see somebody like you and to build a team, an organization, and you're humble enough to talk about your team. A lot of times you get those executives this is, me and our executives, we made this happen, but it's a team and it's the culture.
I'm really not a mortgage expert.
Well, it's funny because you're you look at your background and not to slight this at all. I mean, you came from Goldman Sachs and then you come from investing, right? From an investing background, then into mortgage. Like your background in mortgage is not a long run mortgage background.
No, there's lots of people that know a lot about mortgages. What I have to be really good at is building a great culture that attracts great people. And so I refuse to make a lot of decisions. Otherwise I would bottleneck it. And so what I'm constantly doing is trying to sort people and process it. Who are the best people to make these decisions and be in charge of this part of our business? And I'm changing and sorting and moving around. And so I'm more of like a conductor. I'm an off the field coach trying to set up a machine that can scale, and find the right people to run it.
Dude, that is that's a mic drop. It's surrounding yourself with the right people. It's putting the people in place that can help you. We are all given talents. We all have God-given abilities, and we have to surround ourselves. We have to fill in those gaps that we don't have. And that's exactly what you guys are doing, Rich, and I absolutely love it. So, man, I cannot thank you enough. I'm just bursting at the beams. This was a ton of fun. We're definitely going to have you back because I know that everybody listening and watching this got a ton of value out of it. And Rich, thank you so much for being willing to share these things and really, just being an open book and willing to share. So thank you so much for joining us today, Rich.
All right, Josh. Hey, have a good one.
You too, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee, I know without a shadow of a doubt, you got something out of this. Now go and implement it in your business. Don't just sit back. Don't relax. Go shred. You have to go put it in. You have to implement it within your business. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See you guys. See you, Rich.
Thanks, Josh.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you again so much for joining us for today's show. If you like the content, make sure you hit that like button below. And if you already haven't subscribed to our channel, click right over here and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to see our latest video, click over here. And again, if you want to see the best of daily content within the mortgage and real estate industries, you have to subscribe now. We look forward to having you shred with us every single day.